It's Wednesday, June 2nd. We got quite a few headlines. First thing, though, we're going to be talking about the GOAT. I did not get to participate, but Marvin, I got a response. We're going to be talking about Naomi Osaka. She's walked away from tennis at 23 years old. We're going to be talking about the NBA fans that were really disrespectful in the last couple of weeks. Anthony Davis has been injured yet again. So we're going to be talking about the Lakers, their shot. And honestly, is Anthony injury prone? We got my homeboy calling out on a new record that he's focused on. So we're going to be seeing what's up with Patrick Mahomes. And Jimmy Butler and the Heat were swept. They went from bubble championship to swept, guys. All that and more. The Wire starts now.
All right, welcome to The Wire, folks. It is the season 3 finale. Holy crap, we're closing another one. Don't worry, the new season will be coming right around the corner. Just gonna take a few weeks off for summer break, but it is time to talk sports. Fellas, real quick, how you doing?
Hey, doing good, man. Missed last week. Excited for this week, man. Catch up on some sports.
Glad to have you back, Richie, in the house. And first things first, Richie, we talked about the go to basketball. You were actually the one that disputed it. Originally, but he was able to dispute. He was able to, and I know you probably saw the show. He stood up for Kobe, and Marvin stuck to his guns with LeBron James. So we wanted to start things off with getting your take on who the GOAT of all time basketball player is, my friend.
You know, let me say this. I know we all thought Tony Ray was going to be there, so MJ was going to be already mentioned. So not going to say anything disrespectful to Sahi. I mean, Kobe's one of the great, outside of Michael Jordan, is the second best shooting guard of all time, in my opinion, already. So Kobe being a GOAT, why not? And it's also like the guy we're more, we got to follow a lot more. I got to see MJ, around 90 to 98, but, it's not the same as seeing his first 5 years, quite frankly, because that's when he's most dominant. Having said that, though, GOAT is none of those people. Sorry, it's not Bron, it's not Kobe, and it's not even MJ to me. I think it's Will Chamberlain. He does not get talked about enough, so I'm going to talk about him. Let's just do some raw numbers, and then we'll get into why I really think it, not just statistics. Career points per game, 30.1. We're also factoring in when he was an ancient old man and was only averaging 12 points per game. That drastically dropped his points per game, or he would be ahead of Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. 22.9 rebounds per game. 23 rebounds per game, people. That's like 3 NBA players right now at this point. Right? Let's just be honest. His assists or whatever, just 4, but whatever, that's not terrible. 7 scoring titles, 11 rebounding titles, obviously. 8th in win share titles total. That's an advanced metric stat. He's the only center in NBA history to lead the league in assists. So even though he's not exactly Mr. Assist, he did it 1 year. He averaged 50 points per game in a season in 1961 to 1962. He averaged 49 minutes a game that season. He literally played the entire game. He never sat during that. That's an incredible durability. Never missed a game. He's a 4-time MVP, 2-time All-NBA defensive team, and he's the only player in history to record a 100-point game. Mamba was close, 81, but 100 points. Will Chamberlain, not Michael Jordan. Also, the most impressive thing, none of those things. He's never fouled out in his career as a center, and that is incredibly hard to do. Now, those are just the raw statistics. Now I'm going to throw why specifically he was the greatest, okay? Very simple. 4 reasons. 4 NBA rule changes, and they were massive. He used to dunk after he took a free throw. So what he would do is he'd throw the ball, he would jump, and then he would dunk it, okay? Nobody could stop him, so they had to implement it because the rule was your feet could not hit the ground before the ball hit the rim. So he used his advantage to shoot a free throw, jump up in the air, his feet never hit the ground, and he would just dunk the ball. So they had to change that rule because he was the only human being who's capable of doing it. Even in today's modern NBA, most players couldn't do that. But why should you make a rule against one player to slow him down? Well, we're not done yet. Another rule they made. You could not inbound the ball from behind the court, throwing it behind the backcourt. So basically, it couldn't go over the backboard. You couldn't pass it like that. That's why you have to just throw it chest pass now. The reason why is he was the only player who was alley-ooping from inbounds. So they had to stop that too. So he couldn't do that. They also banned offensive goaltending. So basically, if his teammates were missing, he tapped the ball in and knock it in and get points. Well, they thought that was unfair because he was the only guy who could do that. Well, in the modern NBA, people can do it now, et cetera. But the point is once again, he was getting free points and they took it away. And here's my argument against that. Why should you ban that? In all seriousness, when if the ball bounces off the rebound, like the other direction of the rim, you can dunk it, right? That's perfectly acceptable. But if it bounces inward, it's goaltending. Doesn't make sense. But they did it to prevent him from scoring even more. And the final reason, and this is the biggest one, is they increased the lane from 12 feet to 16 feet. So let me explain why that's a huge deal, okay? So basically the lane got bigger. Why that matters is when you're in the lane and when you're playing as a center and a big guy in the NBA, it's called a 3-second violation. You're only allowed to have the ball and dribble the ball for 3 seconds. Otherwise you turn the ball over. Well, when you pushed out 16 feet, it's much harder to get to the rim in that 3-second span, right? So then you're having to try to post up much lower. It used to be closer. So once again, they drastically reduced his ability to be close to the rim to slow him down and prevent him from scoring. The only thing I could attribute this to in similar like facet nowadays, guys, is if Steph Curry had the ball and they gave him 3 seconds behind the arc to shoot a 3-pointer, or he had to give the ball up. Because that's basically what they tried to do to him. And don't get me wrong, our modern NBA has changed and now people are used to that. And Shaquille O'Neal is the only center who truly flourished in spite of that role. And obviously, Wilt did just fine. He averaged 30 points per game for his whole career. So having said that, he's the only player where they put rules against him to slow him down. Michael Jordan actually had rules in his favor, which increased his points per game. I could go into that argument, but Mike's not even on the table. So it doesn't matter. None of the other guys could even handle like Wilt Chamberlain in terms of scoring and dude, 23 rebounds a game. All right. Nowadays, the guys get 10 and they might be leading the league. He did over 2.5 times that, man. Not even close. The only guy who can even score with him on this list is Kobe, right? LeBron is a 27 point per game guy, right? So he's already out the window. Kobe's also in the same numbers, but in Kobe's prime, he was getting close to 30. But I don't know, man. To me, one of the greatest scorers of all time would have been the greatest if the league wasn't trying to slow him down. The greatest rebounder of all time and the most athletic player in the NBA of all time. So while LeBron is the Swiss Army knife of the NBA and probably total skill set the best, while MJ's the GOAT and scoring prolific, yada, yada, yada. And while Kobe's just Kobe, bro. I mean, what else is there to say? Rest in peace to the Mamba. Then none of them dominated the way Wilt Chamberlain dominated. So when I think of GOAT, I think of domination. I think of like Wayne Gretzky. We talked about this already, Muhammad Ali. I think of Jerry Rice in the NFL, right? Quick example for him, Julio Jones. Incredible career. He's 32 years old. Well, guess what? Jerry Rice from 32 to 41 put the same statistics Julio Jones did from 21 to 32. That's how dominant Jerry Rice is. And that's how dominant Wilt Chamberlain, guys. Nobody's close to Wilt. Not even close, man. Led the league in rebounding, still the all-time rebounder, all-time blocks leader, all-time points, except for one guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and technically Mike. It's not even close, all right? Case closed. I'm done.
Sahi, before we close the GOAT segment, you want to go at him on that? That's hard to argue. 50 points average a season? Yeah. He's muted, but I can see that he's saying right.
He's got something. He got some sauce in there. That's all.
I forgot I was muted. I didn't want to interrupt. But yeah, Wilt Chamberlain put up great numbers. But the reason why he was playing against dudes that nowadays is suiting up at the YMCA right now. They was searching high and low for basketball players in those days. And you know what I'm saying? Wilt Chamberlain was a freak. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he did. he was leaps and bounds better than everybody else back then. Okay, that's fine. He really had no competition. Night in and night out, Kobe had competition. People coming for him. You know what I'm saying? The game grew past. You know what I'm saying? They were still putting rules into the game with Wilt Chamberlain. As you just explained, they were still trying to figure out what is this basketball. You know what I'm saying? It was new. Kobe came in, all the rules were set. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you know what I'm saying? What is this basketball? They just figured out the alley-oop. Jackie Moon had to show them what the alley-oop was. You know, none of the rules are set. But I'm just saying, that's a good argument. Wilt Chamberlain, best of his era, but Kobe, man, he scored 81. Nobody's getting close to that now.
Well,
as a shoot, man.
Folks, we are going to keep the GOAT alert around 100%. And something we want to do between now and next season, we're going to get into some hot takes now and to the current news. But something we want to do in between, get in the comments. Let us know. Go to H2G podcast.com. Hit our comment tab. Let us know one of your GOAT submissions. And if any of us can defend that person, we'll throw that on there for a GOAT alert. We love talking this stuff. Real quick before we move on, Richie, I got to tell you that Sahi referred to, what was it, 2 of LeBron's rings as great value championships last week. For real. He got him on the cheap. He had to load up his team. Okay, let's talk basketball, guys. The Milwaukee Bucks pulled off the sweep on Jimmy Butler and the Miami Heat, putting the final nail in the coffin in Game 4 with a victory of 120-103. So, overall thoughts, and are you more impressed with Giannis or disappointed in Jimmy? Which are you more of? We'll start things off with Sahi.
I'm gonna say impressed by Giannis. You know what I'm saying? He's doing what he needs to do. He's got all the hype. He's won MVPs. We just haven't seen it in the playoffs. They haven't had a deep run. I don't even think we've seen them in the Eastern Conference Finals yet. So this is just a step further for them, you know what I'm saying, to do what they need to do. I just say that because there's no way I could be disappointed in what Jimmy Butler's done over there in Miami. He took them to the finals last year in the bubble. They said in the off season, you know what? We made it all the way to the finals with these guys. Maybe that's all we need. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't really do nothing in free agency or draft wise, or they didn't make any kind of splash trades. So they kind of just didn't really give Jimmy Butler any help. It's kind of like an Aaron Rodgers situation out there. So they made the playoffs, but they just didn't have enough to contend with Giannis and them boys, and they did what they had to do. The book was figured out on Miami last year. They had all the tape on them. Yeah, great win by the Bucks. Kind of what you expect. Get the Heat out of there quick. I wasn't really expecting much from them anyway. So it just is what it is. Good for Giannis. Let's see what you can do in round 2.
All right. Interesting. Richie, did you expect the sweep? And then same question. Are you more impressed with Giannis or disappointed in Jimmy?
I expected the sweep, actually, as a matter of fact. The reason why, and we talked about it a little bit ago on The Wire, they went and broke the bank for getting Drew Holiday, 3 first-round picks. And so far, it's come up huge. Drew Holiday has been one, and it's funny because we always talk about point guards and how defensive point guards don't really matter. Well, Drew Holiday is kind of a different dude. Even though he's like 6'3", he guards guys up to like 6'8", like genuinely, and he can guard them well. So he just adds to that defensive terror that is the wide, tall, number 1 defensive team in the league, essentially, although technically the Lakers were. I would still say the Bucks are better. No, historically, they're better. The last 3 years in the league, they've been number 1, except for this year, they're number 2. Having said that, another thing about Drew is he's adding 16 points per game, 10 assists and like 7 rebounds. So when you factor that in and you look at, and here's the big takeaway, Giannis only scored 23.5 points. And I'm not trying to say that's nothing, right? 24 points a game is great, but he's not having to put up 30 plus that these other superstars are having to do. And let me clarify, Giannis is a superstar, but that's the point. Middleton and Drew Holiday are like truly big pieces. I don't want to say they're a big three because, they're not all equals, they're not all stars. But the point is these three are working just as well as what the Nets big three and things like that. What we used to assume is a big three. They're the exact pieces they all need, right? Middleton is the 3-point guy. Drew Holiday is your point general, because that's the problem Giannis has always had. He hasn't had somebody like LeBron to get the plays running. Giannis needs to just drive and dunk, and he can do it. But, having Drew Holiday really adds that facilitator that they need. And I think that's the big difference. Last year, let's not forget the Heat beat him, right? Now you throw in Drew Holiday, they got swept. So while Giannis played well, and he averaged 15 rebounds a freaking game against them, incredible, and almost 24 points. I think Drew Holiday was the difference maker, because you're looking at Middleton, you're looking at Giannis, and their stat lines are similar, except Giannis points went down, and that's a good thing, because that's what we want. If you're a Bucks fan, you want Giannis to have to do less for them to be successful, not more, right? I think so often in sports, we think about, LeBron had to do 36, 10, and 10 for them to win. Is that realistic, right? If he's got to do that, are they going to win? So to me, this just shows, because they're going to be playing the Nets, this just shows we're going to see a real awesome basketball like very soon. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that defense versus offense. And we've been harping on the Nets the whole time. We'll talk about them a little later, but that's going to be the point, is 144 points in a playoff game versus the number one defense. So Drew Holiday made a huge difference. Miami, who knows what's going to happen with them. I'm never going to hit on Jimmy Butler, but they just don't have it, man. Duncan Robinson's leaving, right? He's going to be a free agent. He clearly doesn't want to stay. Tyler Hero is 19 years old. Who knows if he's going to make it? They don't have that future. And maybe, to Sahi's kind of point on how he likes to talk about those things, that was just the bubble moment where they had that luck. Because they're not a team like Milwaukee. They're not a team like the Nets, and they're not a strong team. So do I expect what has been the number one team in the conference over and over and over and over to sweep the Heat? Yeah, absolutely. And they played exactly how they needed to. They dominated, and it wasn't even close. So good job to the Bucks.
All right. Well, let's get into them, man. We brought up the Nets. Let's talk about them now. With them seemingly being a well-oiled playoff machine, what team would you say is the biggest threat to Brooklyn at the moment?
I'm going to go with what I just said, Milwaukee. And that includes the West. The only other team theoretically is Philadelphia. I mean, that's a bad boy Embiid we've been talking about. He's finally playing like it. But having said that, when I look at the Bucks, they're just more complete, and again, Philadelphia, number one team. But having said that, what we talked about is Giannis has always had that linchpin, that weakness of not having more help. And even though they're a number one defense, and he always failed to make big plays. Honestly, it feels reminiscent of LeBron in terms of how his view has been with the media. They always talk about, MVP consecutive years, but he always fails when it matters most. That's the narrative of Giannis. But to me, this is a team that gives the Nets their biggest matchup, because we talked about it. Defense. Defensively, this team can clamp you down. And if you look at the Heat, and they're certainly not the Nets, but if you look at the Heat, they only broke 100, I think, in one game. I think. So yeah, that's going to be tough. It's going to be, sure, the Nets scored 144 points, but I certainly don't expect that. But I'll tell you what, if Kyrie Irving scores 39 points, 7 and 10 in 28 minutes like he did, yesterday, it doesn't, Bucks aren't winning that. But I do believe that's their toughest matchup. It's going to give them the most problems, because the Nets are undersized. You're talking James Harden, 6'4", Kyrie Irving, 6'2". Yes, you have Kevin Durant at 7 foot, but he's certainly not going to be able to guard Giannis very effectively. And then you got an ancient old man at center, and you got nobody else. Very small team. So they're going to have to play small ball, and they're going to have to outpace Milwaukee. Well, Milwaukee is the third youngest team in the league, so it's going to be hard to gas them. So having said that, that length could be a huge benefactor to them, their defense being the other thing. Also, let's not forget, we keep talking about the big three, or at least I have been, about Milwaukee, but they scored 15 3-pointers on the team, right? Before Giannis made one. So they can shoot the three, they can play defense, and they're certainly going to out-rebound them. So it really comes down to, will the Nets superstars play like superstars every single game? To which I'm saying isn't necessarily sustainable. They can do it. They're very capable of it, but they're going to have to play, all of them play like superstars for 4 games in wins. Otherwise, I don't see them beating Milwaukee personally.
All right. Sahi, what do you think is the antidote to the Brooklyn Nets right now? Or is there one?
Right. Is there an antidote? Maybe you just have to play good defense against them and hope your shots fall. I was thinking about it. I wanted to say Philly, but I'm not sure. Milwaukee will probably have the best shot. I feel like they're the most ready to take that next step. Out of all the teams, they should be. They've been knocking at the door for the last few years. Giannis has got years and years of experience of being a letdown in the playoffs and not quite getting there. So they're hungry enough. I think they know what it takes, but we'll see. We'll see. I think the jury's still out, as I like to say. I'm not too sure because the Nets are too good. They got that 3-headed monster out there, and who can stop it?
Who can stop it?
Because it's a big question. Because the Bucks or the 76ers don't have like if these guys come to play, they're going to get you. They could take the Nets out. It's kind of just we got to see with the East, you know.
I got to see with the East. All right, let's stick with the Nets, kind of. And this will take us into the break. The Boston Celtics did get one win over the Nets, and I think the Nets took it personally because they put the hurt on Boston in Game 4. They beat them 141-126. But what's interesting, and what I'm bringing to the table here for our little wrench in the gear segment, at the end of the game, Kyrie slapped hands with several teammates as he made his way to center court. And he stomped and then swiped his foot across the Celtics mascot that's printed on the floor there. Now, that's, typical, whatever. But then on his way to the locker room, an enraged Celtics fan launched a water bottle that nearly hit Irving right in the head. So I've got a few questions for you guys on this. First and foremost, what do you make of this fan and fans like him who have taken the extra step in this unsportsmanlike conduct that seems to be happening this year as fans are returning to live sporting events? Sahi, what do you think?
Well, that first part of it, you said how he stomped and swiped the logo. I did not know that till just now. So I kind of, sympathize with the fan now, because at first I thought he was just an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Just get out of here, just throwing it just to, just to be that guy. But he's protecting his home court. He had the Garnett jersey on, and Garnett didn't take any, didn't take any mess on the court. You know what I'm saying? He's probably he's got that Garnett energy. He's like, you gonna do this on my home? He's probably had a few beers, you know what I'm saying? You did this on my home court. You just whooped my team like this. Just kind of one of those. It's tough. Especially, when just getting back out, people got to remember how to act. People don't know how to act. They think they're still at home. You know what I'm saying? You could throw a bottle at the TV and nobody's going to care. But you got to vent your frustration some way. And I think it's just all part of the learning process. We got to learn how to go to games again, learn how to cheer for our teams, learn how to boo. You know what I'm saying? It's a learning process all over again. So I feel like you're going to have stuff like this. it's a learning experience for that guy. He's probably going to get banned forever, spend a few nights in jail. So it's a hard lesson to learn, but it's something that, like, we need these kind of people to be like, for future, as we're opening up, yo, this is not what you're supposed to be. And fanhood, it's going to take you there, especially when you got players out there stomping and swiping at, you know what I'm saying, the logo of your team. That's going to enrage anybody, especially after taking a butt whooping like that. So I just feel like we just need to learn from this. That's not how you act at a game. And it's got to come to an end. People should be punished severely for stuff like that.
Richie, same question. I mean, what do you make of the whole situation? But also, I wanted to bring up Kyrie Irving mentioned to the press afterwards that he felt that instances like this, because there are multiple, and I'll get to that in just a second, are attributed to underlying racism. Now, the gentleman was like several rows from Irving, so unlike some of the speculation surrounding the whole Mason Rudolph situation and all that, we don't really have any vocalization that can be retained because he was kind of a few rows up. But do you think that that's what's going on here?
Well, that's okay. I'll say this. That's what I was surprised how he was so light-handed about it. I'm going with what I've always said from the get-go. Like, all fans, like, when you hear racist stuff, it's white fans. Ron Artest beat the crap out of a white guy because a white guy threw a beer on his face, right? Because they think like they can do that. And it's like, you can't do that in real life. Why would you think you could do, you know? And I appreciate Sahi trying to be more reasonable about it, but I'm just over it. Like, because this always happens. Utah Jazz fans are notorious for it. Who live in Utah? I ain't never seen a black person in Utah except if they play on the NBA, okay? That's just what it is, and that's what happened. Same thing with the Jazz fans, saying the nasty stuff they said to Jay Moran's dad, and they all got banned for it permanently. Boston Celtics thing, Boston, notoriously racist already. We don't need to get into all of that and the semantics of it. I don't care if Kyrie whipped out his you-know-what and just pissed all over the logo. You don't have the right to throw things at him. That's why, guess what? Fan went to jail. Like, he went to jail. It's assault, but he's going to have to deal with that, period. So I don't know what these fans are doing. Same thing happened with the Knicks. I'm sure Justin's going to talk about some more things about this, but it's real simple. White people just don't belong at sporting events. That's what I'm going to go with, because they're the only, just like bombers, just like mass shooters, all this stuff. It's always white people. All of it. I have never seen, and I mean this, I have never seen a minority, black, Asian, Hispanic, any of it. You've never seen them throw something at an athlete or sit there and like say something to their face and then be like, oh no, he tried to punch me, and then try to sue. Like that stuff has never happened. It's only white people. White people just think they can get away with everything. And the funny thing is, these people would not be doing this if they were standing. I guarantee you that white boy would not have thrown that shit at Kyrie Irving if he was in front of him, right? Because Kyrie Irving's bigger. He's 6'3". He's not a small guy, guys. Like, he would never do that to him in real life, but he thinks he can do it because, oh, I'm at the bench and fuck you for stepping on my logo. Like, come on. You know, that could have, and in all seriousness, here's why it's a big deal. I'm joking about the racist stuff, you know I'm not. The serious thing about this could have permanently injured him, right? Because of the distance and how far it fell. If that hit his eye, he may never play basketball again, in all seriousness. So it's not a joke. These things are silly. I don't know why these fans think they can do it. I don't know why they've been empowered. And it's very disappointing that this has happened to 3 NBA teams in less than a week. I don't like it at all. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I mean, as Richie just mentioned, Sahi, we've also seen this kind of behavior across the league. Now, Westbrook, a few weeks ago, was covered in popcorn by a fan as he was leaving under this little exit gate. They dumped a whole thing of popcorn on top of him. And then we talked about Trae Young and facing the FU chance, but in, I think, game 2 or 3, he was actually spit on by a fan. So Kevin Durant also took to the media, and I'll pass this over to you, Sahi. Kevin said that he feels that fans are treating athletes like zoo animals in a cage. What are your thoughts on that analogy? Because that's what kind of ring the most to me. It's like there's this separation between realities here. Like they feel like these celebrities are just, you know, a circus act.
I mean, how can you disagree with that? You know what I'm saying? It's obvious. Is like I was mentioning, people gotta remember how to act. You know what I'm saying? People been locked down. Things are just now opening up, and when it comes to especially sports, people are crazy about it. Like if your team loses, that ruins your day. You know what I'm saying? I've been a Bucks fan for a long time, and we've been sorry for a long time. And watching those guys play, like at home, I always think like, man, if I was there, I'd get in his face and I'm, what are you doing out there? You know what I'm saying? Like do something to him. So it's tough because I mean to say that people look at you as like a zoo animal or a circus, like these people that come to the games are fans. You know what I'm saying? They love the sport. They love what you do. It's just something that, like that competitive nature, fans really feel it deep. And it's just like, when they lose or, you know what I'm saying? Like the F you chants to Trae Young, like you expect that. Like you can be verbally abusive to a player all you want to. You can't get too crazy, but that's like part of being at the game. And some players love that. Some players feed off that. So it's a part of it. That's why you pay the ticket, because you want to be right there. You got that's home field advantage. You know what I'm saying? As a home team, you want your crowd to get into the heads of the team you're playing. So like that's the whole point of home field advantage. So it's a very like slippery slope of what you want. Like you can't attack the players. Like most people know that. You know what I'm saying? That's why these instances is just one person doing it. And they're probably getting hyped up by friends and they're like, yeah, you should do it. And like as a joke, and then they do it. And you look at them like, man, you're an idiot. Why'd you do that? We were just joking about you throwing. Like some people are going to do that. So, I mean, it's a very slippery slope. You know what I'm saying? Especially like when you add like the whole the racist thing to it. It's just like, well, I mean, I feel like if it was truly like people wouldn't go to these games, or you know what I'm saying, they wouldn't support the product if they really felt that way. You know what I'm saying? So it's a slippery slope. I feel like since it's happening so like frequently in the last few games, it's getting a lot of publicity, but I don't think it's that big of a problem overall. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I feel like it's just something they have to talk about. And eventually it'll get, you know what I'm saying, it'll be a minor issue. You're still going to have people that do it from time to time. So it's just kind of just one of those things. It's just kind of one of those things you have to deal with. Being a professional athlete, you have to deal with people looking at you like a circus animal or clown. That's part of the thing. So it's slippery slope, man. I could talk about this for hours.
Richie, real quick, and then we'll head into the break. I mean, Kevin Durant really put it the best. He said we're viewed as like an act, like a circus act, and they don't view us as human beings. That's what he went on to say. That's what people fail to realize is these are humans down here doing their job. Sahi brought up a good point that, it seems to be escalating. It is individual, instances, but we know that it's gone on for some time. Do you think the NBA needs to step in?
I don't think they need to. And I do think it's I'm not a fan of it. I don't understand why these fans do it, but the reality is this, and you're seeing it. When it happens, they get arrested, law enforcement takes them away, they get banned. So there's consequence, right? And at the end of the day, even though, I understand what Kevin's saying and I don't disagree with him. I think he's very accurate and he's very right that they're treated as an act, like the Ringling Brothers, for instance, and things like that, or an animal in a cage like he's referring to. But, it's harder. Like this is a conversation that would need more time because sports is so much more than other jobs, right? Like he's trying to say, we're trying to do our job. Well, part of your job is the crowd, right? And they even we discuss about the pros and the cons. Oh, well, they scream and they can cause you to, do your job poorly. Well, antagonizing you can be part of that. Now, but again, it depends on like, what is the antagonization? Is it inherently like, nasty things, or is it just legitimate? Like, where do we cross the line? Now, obviously race is one we cross the line. Do we cross the line on like your mama jokes and those types of things? So it's hard. And this is a conversation that would need more time, but I'll say this much. I don't think the NBA needs to step in, because I do believe when these instances happen, and they do happen, they happen at least every year, and especially in the NBA, they get taken care of. They get dealt with. It happened in Atlanta earlier in the year. Gentlemen, with LeBron James, he's banned, and he used to be courtside for 20 plus years. He's banned. Happened to the kid. It happened to the New York kid and the Knicks. It's happened to the 3 Jazz people. It's going to happen in Boston. The kid who threw, 21-year-old who threw the water bottle. All that stuff already happened, and it's going to continue to happen. There'll be lifetime bans. I think that's sufficient, and I think over time it'll go back to more normal. This was a lot at once, which is why I think we're getting these headlines. But in terms of like, the racist kind of stuff's always been there, but you can't police that. What are you going to do? They're already dealing with it. When it happens, they take care of it. And unfortunately, this is just part of our society as to why, you have these people who come in here, pay money just to say that to someone and think like they have power over them. And it's unfortunate, but when that stuff happens in the NBA particularly, they don't get away with it. So it is what it is. And I think they can't really do any more than what they've already done for the measures.
Something I'm definitely willing to come back to, because we do have points like, too, what would happen if, Kyrie Irving had, a Gatorade and decided to dump that on a fan that was saying something to him, then we have a $50,000 to $100,000 fine coming from the NBA down the pipeline, so a conversation we can definitely look forward to in the future. But for now, we're going to go to a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about Homeboy and so much more. You're watching The Wire. Don't go anywhere. I think that's happened where some players have been fined for interacting, haven't they?
Yeah, Ron Artest beat the shit out of him.
That's a little different.
I'm just saying the white guy threw beer on him. What you gonna do? Well, he did something about it. I'll tell you what. And even though the NBA at the end of the day was like, oh.
All right. So this is Gary 43. He says, I feel like Justin is the reason this country has to put directions on shampoo. Do you even know what you're talking about, bro? No, I don't, Gary fucking 43. I have no idea. I don't even use shampoo. I just use 1 3-in-1 body wash, you bastard.
All right, this is from Karen 45. How do you feel about being ranked sexiest man on your podcast when Tony looks like a barbecued Kermit the Frog?
Jesus Christ.
Wait a second.
My.
Why? That sounds like a Tony rip. Why is Marvin?
That's a Tony rip. Is that towards me?
Wow.
Does Christy think having a child on her lap makes her seem more likable? Also, get some sleep. You look tired. Thanks, Breezy. I'm trying.
Adam says, I see ratings must have been down. They recruited someone interesting.
Wow.
All right.
Some burn on the rest of us.
Oh, I mean, thank you, Adam.
Ashley says, I watch the show a lot and I was wondering, are you all changing the name to RT2M? Richie talks too much. I don't know what to say, Ashley, other than I feel like I talk exactly as much as I should. So fuck you.
Yes. Oh boy. Margaret says, is it me or when Tony talks, do you get the feeling he's constipated?
Yeah. Well, that face right there doesn't really help you.
All right, everybody, welcome back to The Wire. We had an awesome discussion on the first half, and it is time to keep the ball rolling. Speaking of the ball, let's get into football a little bit. We haven't talked about that for a couple of weeks because it is NBA playoff season, but let's talk my homeboy. Kansas City Chiefs staff told NFL analysts this week they do not plan to limit 25-year-old, in my opinion, future Hall of Famers out-of-pocket play following his concussion and foot injury that he sustained last season. Now, if you don't know, a lot of analysts have been kind of discussing that fact and whether or not they should. So my question for you to get things started with Pat Mahomes is, if you were among the shot callers in Kansas City, would you change anything about his style of play? Richie?
Hell no, I would not. He's not Aaron Rodgers in the sense of like he's never going to get, not get touched, because that's not how he wants to play. The guy is a phenom. You got to let him play. You got to let Brett Favre do what Brett Favre did. Well, he's not nearly on the snowmobile. You got to let these guys go. Ben Roethlisberger, would he be the same quarterback if he didn't take those hits and still make those crazy throws? Like, that's the only time, in my opinion, where Ben shined. Is like those moments where Ben's getting hit by three guys, but he's Big Ben Roethlisberger and he kept on 2 feet and he still made the throw. That's what makes Patrick Mahomes. He's not like, he's still incredibly accurate. Don't get me wrong, but he's not like Aaron Rodgers where it's like a three step and he's going to hit the guy every time. Patrick has feet and he can move. Now, I'm not saying he's not trying to run, but he can do it when he needs to. And Patrick, he's trying to stay in that pocket. He's what I would consider a pocket passer first anyway, but he moves around when he needs to. So to me, you don't limit that style. You let him be what he is. It's just like Lamar Jackson. If we were to say about him, I'd say the same thing. You let that boy run 1,000 yards if he needs to, because that's why he's successful. And like, you let him develop the rest later. And, right now, Patrick Mahomes is the baddest quarterback on the planet. Now, he's no longer the MVP. That's Aaron Rodgers. But having said that, you're talking about what I consider still arguably the best team in the league with the second best quarterback, because we all know TB12 is the best. I'm not going to disrespect Sahi sitting here trying to say Patrick Mahomes is better than Tom Brady. But in terms of numbers and production, I do expect Mahomes to have an incredible season this year. I don't think, they're not going to limit the playbook. He's, a prolific player, and you got to let him do what he does.
Sahi, what do you think, man? If you were among the shot callers in Kansas City, would you change anything about his style just to get some extra longevity at him? I mean, he's 25 and, concussions have ended careers, especially for quarterbacks.
If I was a shot caller in the Kansas City organization, when I tried to change his play, I would. Because you want him there as long as possible, right? You're paying him all this money. Yeah, you've built all this around Patrick Mahomes. You want him there as long as possible. But like what Richie was saying, would that be beneficial to Patrick? If I was Patrick Mahomes, no, that wouldn't be beneficial. That's not how I play. This is how I play. If you're going to change that, it's going to be something totally different. But as the organization, they're looking out for the best, you know what I'm saying? They're looking out for their product. You know what I'm saying? They want to have Patrick Mahomes there for a long time. So they're like, yo, we need you healthy at all times. So we're not going to need you to stop running around, get the ball off on time. We might not be as great, but you'll be here. So that's what teams are doing. They're looking out for their bottom line and selling tickets and doing all this. They're not actually looking at it from an X and O standpoint of what's best for Patrick Mahomes, because they didn't, when they drafted him, they didn't know what he was going to be. He turned into that. They're making money off of it. They see there's a chance that he might get injured, and they're like, yo, we need you to not get injured. So can you play like this? And yeah, if I was him, I'd be trying to do that. But is that going to work out? And is that actually going to happen? Probably not, because that's not what makes them successful. You know, what makes them successful is him being able to run around and use that speed out there.
Absolutely. Well, we hope that doesn't lead to injury. Another quick take on Patrick Mahomes. Well, maybe not. This might stir something up, because I know Sahi will. And we'll have to reverse the order, Sahi. I can't just send it right back to you with this, because you know how I am. Patrick did tell members of the media this week that he only has his eyes set on breaking one record. And if you guys didn't know, the NFL is now going to switch to a 17-game season. Patrick Mahomes wants to be the first quarterback to go 20-0. Okay. Do we think, this is my question, do we think that my homeboy can be the first to set this record? And if not, then who? Go ahead, Richie. Let's Sahi sit on that.
I'll let Sahi sit on that one. I wanted to beat him to the gun, but that's not fair to Sahi. Here's what I'll say. I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to be capable of doing that. I don't think anyone is going to be capable of doing that because Tom Brady couldn't go 19-0. So how the hell is anyone going to go 20-0? It's just not going to happen. We live in the modern NFL where, it's just all it takes one game, right? And that's why I get so annoyed with those 76 Dolphins. And we went 12-0. Nobody cares, man. That wasn't a full season. And now that you're adding an additional game, it's just going to be that much more challenging. So having said that, when one of the greatest teams of all time with the greatest quarterback of all time couldn't do it, do I expect Patrick Mahomes to do it? No, I don't expect him to do it. Do I think that, I like the competitor in him though, right? That's his goal. I would say this though, to me, that's more of a Tom Brady goal, right? To me, Patrick Mahomes should just focus on, I want to win another Super Bowl. That's how I would view it. Not so much like what my win-loss record is, get me, 7 Super Bowls. That's my, I think this is a Tom Brady thing. Cause here's what I mean. Tom Brady said it a million times over. He would trade 4 Super Bowl championships for that perfect season if he could have it. So it'd be fun to see which ones he trade. But having said that, for somebody who's won 1, it's like, man, is that really, your next goal is just be undefeated and win a Super Bowl? Wouldn't you rather just win 10 and try to surpass Tom Brady? But anyway, having said that, I just don't see anyone getting it personally. I don't think it'll ever happen.
Sahi, okay, so a couple of things in there. One, do you think Patrick Mahomes is getting too big for his britches? 2, do you agree with Richie that no one will get it, or is there somebody that you have in mind?
This is such a hard thing to do. I'm not going to say nobody's not going to get it. Maybe there's somebody out there, you know what I'm saying, with a great quarterback who's won a lot of Super Bowls. Maybe there is a guy that could do it. Who knows? But Patrick Mahomes to say that, come on. Getting way too big for his britches. You know what it sounds like to me when somebody asks him the question? It's like he was a little kid and somebody was like, hey, little Mahomes, what you want to be when you grow up? I want to be a police officer just like my dad. He want to be just like Daddy Brady. You know what I'm saying? He sunned him twice.
Daddy Brady.
Yeah, he want to be just like Daddy Brady. He sunned him twice in the playoffs, won a Super Bowl over him. You know what I'm saying? And people been talking all off season. Hey, the Bucs might go undefeated. The Bucs doing this. Tom Brady, another year in the system. They looked so good last year. Who's to say they can't go undefeated? I'm not one of those people that, you know what I'm saying, that says they can't go undefeated. Who knows? Who knows? It's going to be tough. It's hard to win in the NFL. But you know what I'm saying? Patrick Mahomes is just trying to stay relevant. You know what I'm saying? He's a Super Bowl loser, and he's just trying to get clout off Tom Brady's name. Yeah, we might go undefeated too. Sit down, young boy, and watch greatness. Yeah, I'm flattered you know what I'm saying? You want to be like us, but you're not. You know what I'm saying? We proved that last year. And you know what I'm saying? Just do what you can do. That's all you can do.
He made amends. He made amends one time. And now he's just back on the hate.
Sit down, Mahomes.
He sunned him twice.
Right. He did, man.
Somebody start that hashtag. Hashtag Daddy. That might go. That might be the thing that sends the wire to yours. Okay, let's move back over to NBA. Guys, not shocking to me, but shocking to a lot of NBA analysts and fans. Anthony Davis out yet again. This time he has got what is being described as a day-to-day injury, but it's a strained left groin. So that super open-ended. I mean, a left groin strain could be terrible. LeBron James responded to press shortly after it happened, saying that that's what his shoulders were built for. But let's keep a few things in mind. One, Bron's not 100%, right? Keep in mind, Chris Paul also on the other side, listed as questionable. He did look a lot better this week on that shoulder injury. Question A, and we are at Sahi. Do we believe that LeBron, not at 100%, can carry, because we've talked, we think he's 70 to 80, and we think that that's good enough with AD and everything. Can he carry them through and past Phoenix?
Yeah, this is a worst case scenario for the Lakers. Could he get them past the Phoenix Suns? Yes, for sure. I was going to say for sure, but it's going to be tough to get past those boys, even with a limpid Chris Paul, because the Lakers really don't have a lot of pieces outside LeBron and AD. So without one of those, especially with an old LeBron, maybe if this was 4 or 5 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, LeBron could get them past this team. But now with the injuries piled up, he's slowing down. He's not the same LeBron that we're used to. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. He definitely can't get them through the West, just him and those guys. They're going to need AD to be productive if they get past the series.
Richie, I think this goes way back to, early season 2 wire, where we talked about the crunch seasons, and we've been predicting it, the injury after injury, and AD out for weeks on weeks, 20 games. Same question. Do you think LeBron, he said that's what these shoulders are built for. Do you think he can carry the team? I mean, actually Marvin said last week, he's like, they should call him Rumkey because he can carry garbage all the way. But what do you think?
Well, as much as I love Marvin and I'm a LeBron James fan, no, he can't carry the team. He's not LeBron James from 2015, people. Like, everyone's acting like he's the same guy. I'm sorry. It is 6, almost 7 years removed from that type of dominant play. He's still the best player in basketball to me. He still is, but he is not able to do what he once did. This isn't a Toby Keith song. Like, I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. Even if he's 100%, they don't beat the Suns. They're too built around AD at this point. All right. Here's what LeBron is incredible at doing now. Now he's at the point in his career where it's like, all right, take the ball, AD. AD's doing his thing, and then he's looking, and AD's not doing so hot, and then he'll score the points, and then he'll go back like, AD, you do it. Okay, I need to do it. Well, he can't do the I need to do it for 40 minutes anymore like he used to be able to do. So if AD, and again, this groin thing takes usually at least a week to 10 days, 7 to 10 days, generally speaking. So he's out for the next game. And if I'm the Lakers, even if he thinks he can play, I still keep him out. Because if we lose, if AD plays and hurts himself and we somehow win and then have to go up to the next games, we're not winning anyway, right? Like, we play the Clippers like that, we're not winning. So if I'm the Lakers, I'm sitting them out either way, and then them shoulders got to make it. I don't know, man. I'd love for LeBron to prove me wrong because I'm a LeBron fan, but even at 100% in this day and age and how he's been playing, I don't see it happening. I just don't. We talked about this earlier. I'm going to stay consistent. I love that Giannis only had to score 23 points per game for them to win. If LeBron's going to beat the Suns, he's going to have to average like 36. There's only one guy in the playoffs right now averaging that, and that's Kyrie Irving. And that's because he's 28 years old. He's not 30. He's not my age. He's not like 36. Well, LeBron's going to be 37 this December. So the point being is, he's not a spring chicken, guys. MJ won his final championship at 36. And I'm telling you, he looked old as hell. And that's where LeBron's age is at. Now, he's been playing so well for so long. Everyone's just like, you know what? He's done it 18 years. He can do it again. But I'm sorry. This is no longer the garbage man. They're not playing in the East. They're playing in the West. And he's 5 years older. I just don't see it happening. So we'll see. I think the only way he has that shot is if Chris Paul is also still not playing well. Like, if he's just injured and can't play. Because if Chris Paul's out, LeBron versus Suns and Booker and Ayton, he might pull it off, but we'll have to see. I need to see the next game before I make a final. But I don't think them shoulders is built for. I like what he said. It's a cool quote.
Yeah,
we'll see, man.
It's great for a t-shirt. Like our next
It's great for a t-shirt. Yeah.
Our next season wire t-shirts, hashtag Brady on Daddy Brady on the back.
Yeah, exactly. Send him twice. Hashtag send him twice.
Send him. Okay, so let's talk real quick. The Mavericks and the Clippers series. So Dallas came out pretty hot, taking game 1 and 2. But now after game 4, we are, and reminder, we record on Mondays for you folks watching live. We're all knotted up. So do games 3 and 4 make you feel more or less optimistic about the situation with the Clippers? Richie, and then back to Saeed.
Mavericks are done. They're done. Here's what I'll say. I was excited watching how well they were playing. Luka's been phenomenal. But here's the reason they're going to lose, and here's the reason they are losing. Well, one, Luka got hurt in the game 3, so in game 4, his pinched nerve in his neck, you could see it was bothering him. But the bottom line is this: stop calling him Baby Bird. Stop talking about he's the future. He's got a long way to go because he's LeBron James, but even worse at free throws and worse at everything else. All right, he went 6 for 18 from the line this series. That is terrible. That's why they're losing. It doesn't matter if he scores 12 points consecutively in the first quarter and they're winning by 20 plus points, because guess what? Kawhi Leonard has not been talked about. He's averaging 36.2 points per game. He's playing phenomenal. All right. Paul George, playoff P. Everyone's making fun of him, bubble P. And I'm not going to sit here and say he's doing amazing, but when they were down 20 points, he scored 18 points in a row. Right. So I'll say this. The Clippers are playing and have been playing the same. The Mavericks shot 60% from the 3-point line in the game 1 and 55% in game 2. That's why they won. If you shoot that well at the 3, you're going to beat any team. The Clippers have been exactly the same and been consistent. Now Luka's getting hurt and their 3-pointers are marginalizing like they should be. In the regular season, they're 36% from the line. Then they shoot up to 60 and then 55. They're coming back down to reality. And so unless they have those types of games again, they're not going to win. And they're not going to win because they're not going to have those games again. While Luka Doncic has been dominating, while he's been able to score at will, well, so has Kawhi Leonard, quite frankly, right? And he's been doing it at a higher margin, 70% shooting, and he's averaging 36 points. They're just much more quiet. They're not, because he doesn't like to trash talk and he's not doing all the histrionics. He's just scoring and going to the other side. He's a robot. That's what he does. And, Paul George, same thing. Like he's memeable and he deserves all the hate. He genuinely does. Now he's just balling out and he's shutting the hell up and he's not talking about it. And that's the difference is they're taking care of their business. The Mavericks were on a high, and now you see this young team that was so happy and so energetic, just completely deflated. And I don't see that trend changing. Clippers are going to win. I think it's going to be the reverse sweep. They're down 2-0 and now they're going to win 4 in a row. That's what I think is going to happen.
So, what do you think, man? You think the Mavericks are toast, or you think the Clippers can fall off still?
Yeah, I don't have zero faith in the Clippers. Pandemic P, playoff P, whatever you want to call him. Man, I was a big Paul George fan when he was in Indiana. I'm gonna be honest with you. When he was coming up, but it's just something like when the game's on the line, when it matters. I don't think you're going to. I think the moment gets too big for him. Like the Clippers came back, but it was like they were getting blown out in the first quarter. It was looking bad. I'm like, yo, the Clippers is trash. And so they just turned on it doesn't matter mode, and they just started making shots. Yeah. When it doesn't matter anymore, you can play free, and it's just like you can just let it fly. And they started hitting shots. But when it's tied up, when it's win or go, do or die, win or go home, a game 7, and it's come down to a last shot. Who do I have more faith in? Luka Doncic or PG? I got way more faith in Luka and those guys. I think that they needed that whooping from the Clippers, because I feel like they have all the confidence in the world to beat the Clippers. Kawhi, he's just not going to be enough, because the other guys that surrounded him, I just don't see it. I just don't see that they should be blowing the Mavericks out. They should have swept the Mavericks. They're so much more talented than the Mavericks. But as a team, I just don't feel like they got it when it really matters. The way they laid down in the second game they lost to the Mavericks, they just didn't have any kind of good body language, any good energy. When things are going right, I feel like they can, because things started to get right and go. So they kind of picked it up. They were able to get it under control and come back. But when things get tight and they're unsure, they don't have that dominant leader that's going to step up. Because Kawhi, he's just a quiet guy. Paul George, Pandemic P, he gets the yips. He's done it year after year after year. When it doesn't matter much and he's just out there playing loose, and that's what it's going to take for them to be successful. For Paul George to go out there and be like, yo, I'm just going to play three, and I'm just going to do me. And that's easy to say, but in the heat of the battle, it's hard to do. It's either you got it or you don't. And I just don't feel like he has it. I feel like this is going to go 7 games. And in that 7th game, the Clippers aren't going to show up because the moment's going to be too big. The lights are going to be too bright. Luka is just going to be that man. The last second shot, swish to put the Clippers away. That's how I see it. Let's see if it, you know what I'm saying?
Man, oh man. All right. Saeed strikes. He's on one today, Richie. All right, we got one more story, and then we're gonna close it off for the season. We'll talk about that in just a second. But wanted to bring this to your attention because I thought it was pretty huge news. Naomi Osaka shocked the world of tennis when she dropped out of the French Open the day after being threatened with suspension for not attending press conferences. Okay. Now, Osaka has verbalized that she's a private person who's been suffering from severe depression since 2010. We all know that amongst athletes in particular, and folks all over the world, it's common with athletes. Now, Naomi stated that this week that her intention was never to draw attention to herself, that the league kind of did that by, threatening to suspend her and all of that. So she thought the best thing for the league and other players and herself would be to step away. So Sahi, we'll start back with you. My first question is, do we think that professional athletes should be forced to participate in media press conferences and interviews by their organizations?
No, not at all. Especially the way things are now. I feel like it's just setting the athlete up for failure. Well, some people thrive in it, but some people I feel like it's going to set them up. The only way I feel like they should be forced to talk to the media is if the media was forced to not spin the story and tell it right. And you know what I'm saying? And to be fair about everything, because the media, I feel like, tends to twist things. And either like with the whole Kwame Brown situation that's going on right now, that's one of the big news topics, is because these reporters, they forget that these are real people sometimes, kind of like what KG was saying. So they'll write anything and talk about you any old kind of way. And the organizations force certain players to have to deal with that. Like Kyrie Irving, for instance, he's talking about flat earth and he's talking about all these things just to be stupid. You know what I'm saying? Just to be like, man, this is stupid that I have to sit here and talk to you right now. Kind of like Marshawn Lynch. I'm only here so I don't get fined. You know what I'm saying? We could avoid those moments if they were allowed to not talk to the media, because I feel like sometimes the media doesn't deserve a story, because you shouldn't be forced to have a relationship with somebody who's going to turn around and ask you these questions and then turn around and blast you in the media and just say all kind whatever they want to. So I feel like they should. The only way they should be forced to do it is if the media was forced to, you know what I'm saying, write the story in a way that's positive for them. You know what I'm saying, for the athlete.
Man, that would put a lot of major news organizations out of business. Richie, same question to you. Do you think that the professional athletes should, by their organizations, be mandated to do these press conferences and these interviews with the media?
This is going to be a little different, but I do believe so personally. I think part of the sport is, and this is what makes things like tennis and golf much more vulnerable. And like now we're running into one of these situations, right? Because in a team sport, you have a team and there's a lot more leeway. But, just like Kyrie Irving has been fined, as we've talked about over and over and over, and his disbelief of the need to do it, it's part of the occupation, right? Because again, when we watch our athletes, a lot of the times we talk about these things, like what are they thinking in this moment? Well, and that's what those press conferences are for. I think it's disappointing for her, at the young age of 23, to be taking time away from tennis and now reading about her, because I didn't know much about her until this moment, and how dominant she is. Like, I didn't know she could serve the ball 125 miles an hour. That's terrifying to me. Like, that's elite. We talk about lethal weapons. Like, forget the water ball. Jeez. So yeah, it's disappointing. I'm reading a lot about this. She's an introvert and she doesn't like public speaking, and that's really what this is called. This causing this stress for her. So I empathize in the sense of that's what makes this challenging, but it's part of the career and the profession. And to Sahi's point, maybe we consider changing that. But to me, part of being a professional athlete is your kind of your character, your larger than life personality, whether it is or not, is available to your fans, right? Because how do your fans associate who you are if they can't get the opportunity to hear, your thought process? How do I want to say this? Look at actors. Another example, different context, but similar. When they start doing bigger movies, or when they do plays on Broadway, well, you end up having to do the press for that, right? You have to go to these reporters and you have to have these intense one-on-ones, let alone group conference things. So having said that, I think as an entertainer, because you are an athlete, but sports is entertainment. It's kind of part of what we consider in culture as entertainment. And not just in the United States, we're talking sports everywhere. This is what happens. And so I don't think this will ever change. So hopefully for Naomi, it's something she can overcome. I would hate to see her retire based on looking at her statistics and how dominant she's already been. I mean, the girl's made $18 million and she's 23 years old. Just insane. But no, I do believe, like I said, just due to entertainment and due to how sports kind of works globally, it's always going to be a thing. But it's going to be a requirement. Whether, it should be or not, to Sahi's point, hard to say. But to me, unless we start changing entertainment as a whole and what we expect from entertainers, I don't see that changing.
Well, let me flip the script on you guys to close it off here, because Naomi's also been a huge advocate for wearing the mask and civil rights and equal rights, and we've talked before about the power of an athlete's voice, especially successful athlete's voice. We talked about LeBron James and all of this. What do you guys think this does for the rest of the sport? Keeping in mind what Richie said about Naomi's been quickly becoming one of the most dominant athletes in the current scope of ladies tennis. I think we're back at Richie and then Sahi closing us out.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that's a hard answer, Justin, in that question, just because it's how do I want to say this? This is an individual, right? There's not necessarily a ripple effect, other than the other competitors have an easier time. That's the ripple effect. But in terms of how does this impact potentially this sport and things of that nature, that would be what would happen is, we just lost a potential superstar if she chooses to retire, because she's walking away. We don't know how long. But I mean, it's hard to know, right? All we can say is prolific athlete, beat Serena Williams for her first major. I mean, that, what else is there? So that'd be beat Kobe Bryant in the NBA finals. It's similar. So very sad to hear. So it's such a tremendous talent and a mixed person who has a lot of deep-rooted things she's already had to deal with, being Japanese and Haitian. It's very, disappointing. So I mean, I can't say for the scope of the sport other than it would lose a great athlete and honestly an incredible person based on looking at like her philanthropy and her activism. So I really do hope she'll like be able to turn this around and maybe, work on some public speaking like classes or something, take some time away from the sport, see if it's something she's capable of doing. And if not, then it'd be terrible, but maybe she would have to just sit it out. And that would be weird to be 24 years old basically and retire. Right. She's 23 at the moment, but assuming she took that time off to retire.
Certainly made enough money to do it.
Well, she has, but at the same time, I'm sure she's doing this more than for the money, for the love of it. Like she's probably had a racket since she's not implying you saying that, since she's 2 years old, right? And this is her life. And to like put that away and walk away because of her fear of, like speaking in public, that'd be disappointing. That'd be sad. I would hate to see that.
Sahi, do you think that that there could be a ripple effect based on just the like pure competitiveness? So say you had trained for the French Open and you've been training specifically for the opportunity to play Naomi and now, anything from that aspect that you think could ripple or anywhere else that could ripple into the rest of the sport?
Well, yeah, it's going to ripple its way into somebody we didn't expect to win that French Open, I think it is. So I feel like there's going to be a lot happier girls out there on the court. Like, whoo! Now we've got one big dog out, so it makes the field more wide open for me. Kind of just like a selfish thing, but I'm sure everybody in the sport is concerned about her mental health and well-being and all that. So I feel like on that side of things, it might make other competitors willing to step back and kind of they won't be afraid to kind of do the same things. Because if somebody like that is taking their mental health and things like that as a higher importance than the game, then they probably will too, and it probably just equal to a more healthy and happy society in the end, one person at a time. I think it's great that she's doing that.
Love the optimism. Awesome. We hated on the Chiefs. We can forgive that. We can forgive it because he was super optimistic at the end. Well, fellas, it's been an awesome season. I always love doing this with you guys every week. We are going to be going into summer break though, so we only do this once a year because we only get summer once a year, right? But we're going to come back. It's going to be right there in the, let's see here, ballpark of, it should be the 30th of June. You get us in the same month. Season, the next
same month.
Season of The Wire.
What you talking about?
We're coming back just a few weeks off for summer break. Go enjoy yourself. Be safe. Check out all of our content at H2G Podcast.com. You can find us on Facebook, YouTube, Spotify, and where all audio podcasts are played. Until next season, guys, stay classy, would you? Sahi hated on the Chiefs. We need to come up with the hashtag Daddy Brady shirts immediately.
Yeah, I mean, he signed him twice, man. I love it. That was definitely worth the wait.